Good morning, Dan and Amy. Jason Swar is the editor of an outlet called Skill Set, sort of alpha male type of outlet. He happened upon a Trump parade in his neighborhood, one of these organic events that you see around the country, whether it's by land or by sea or by air, not orchestrated by the campaign, but just as I said, organic, orchestrated by people within a particular community. And here was his reaction to what he saw when he went to check it out.
What's up, guys? Hey, I got to tell you a story real quick of what happened to me today. So I come out of the corner store, and there was a Trump, a parade, I guess, right? Miles of cars with flags, and on the corner there was about 50 plus people, and I'm like, man, it's here, it's in my neighborhood, I haven't experienced one of these before, so let me go check it out. So I went over, and what I saw, wow, it was amazing. There was, I don't know, man, there was black people, there was white people, there was Hispanics, I saw Asians driving by beeping, I saw Native Americans beeping, man. I saw everybody was freaking happy, and that's something I'm like, huh? What is going on here? I haven't felt that in a long time, man. And it was something that it was refreshing. It was cool to see. There was no negativity. There was no one yelling, Biden sucks. That didn't even come up at all. The 90 minutes I was there, just watching, man. I saw people hugging, fist bumping. I saw everybody getting along. It was like the first sense of community I've seen in a long time, man. And not only community, I haven't felt patriotism like that. I don't know, man. Maybe since 9/11. It was weird, man. Coming from a guy that's fought overseas, fought a couple wars and whatnot. It was refreshing. It was refreshing to see Americans happy and getting along regardless of what color or whatever religion. It doesn't matter, man. So if you, I'll never tell you how to vote ever. That's not my business. But if you've never experienced something like that. Or, I don't know, maybe seek one of these things out and go observe, because it was refreshing, and it put me in a damn great mood, man. So anyway, have a good weekend, y'all.
Thanks, Jason. I experienced that for the first time, doing a Trump rally, this one orchestrated by the campaign, when I went to the rally that he had in Waukesha, Wisconsin on Saturday, and I agree with him.
And there's one today, if anyone wants to go, Black Chicago for Trump. They're going to be gathering, a peaceful gathering. You could stay in your car. You can come out. It's going to be today at the intersection of Lake and Ashland from 3 to 5 p.m.
It was a pleasant experience. People, again, you have people that are of a particular political persuasion. They agree on getting Trump across the finish line, so there shouldn't be so much acrimony. But but still, just because you agree on a candidate doesn't mean that you're going to be lifelong friends. But it's just a sort of a different type of atmosphere. There is enthusiasm. If there wasn't enthusiasm, you wouldn't have 25 or 30,000 people show up to all of these rallies that he's having.
And you said people waited for hours, right?
And there, indeed, and again, an indicator of the enthusiasm. People were polite, friendly, introducing yourself in a way. Wisconsin's probably a little bit more friendly than Chicago Metro, just to begin with. But people introducing themselves and just enjoying fellowship with one another about the election, but just about the weather, how cold it was, how long they stood in line, and everything else too. So there is something to that. Maybe all those Trump supporters aren't these deplorable people that the left, and frankly, some never-Trumpers on the right sort of insinuate that they are. Maybe they are actually faithful Christians and people of other religious persuasions. Maybe they are actually independent-minded, right-thinking Black Americans and Latino Americans and Asian Americans, not in the numbers I wish they were in support of Trump, in support of conservatism, but the sort of overture that Trump has made, and particularly on issues like school choice, cannot be ignored, even though those who oppose Trump from across the political spectrum and inside the Beltway suggest that we do ignore those things. For more on all of this and a look ahead to Tuesday, where Trump seems to be closing, and that's not just me saying it, that's not my woman's intuition, that's our friend Mayor at the IBD tip poll suggesting that when I talked to him on Monday, Trump was down 7. Today, he's down 4. If he thinks if Trump gets within 3, he wins the electoral vote. IBD tip, one of the two polls that correctly predicted his victory in 2016, along with Trafalgar. Rasmussen has him up nationally as well. So polling is polling. It's snapshots in time. But certainly there is evidence to support the idea that the race is closing in the final days while Trump is doing 3 rallies a day. And Melania was out in Pennsylvania doing a rally of her own yesterday.
She was.
And Joe Biden is hiding in his basement and trying to avoid generic questions about Biden Inc. business dealings. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Tim Carney, again, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, author of Alienated America, Why Some Places Thrive While Others Collapse. Tim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So starting with Biden Inc., with the Bobulinski interview last night with Tucker Carlson, the whether you found Bobulinski credible or not, and I did, generally speaking, not without conflict, but credible, 2 different things. And the level of specificity combined with the text messages and documents he provided to support what he was saying, it's easily fact-checked, much of what he said, because it's matters of public record. Things like, was he at the Milken conference back when he allegedly met Joe Biden there when Joe Biden was going out to L.A. to speak at the Milken conference? Things like that, in addition to the documents related to the business dealings. It does not demand the D.C. press corps or anybody in the press corps track down Hunter Biden, show up at a rare Biden public event, and press him specifically on these matters, not, hey, what do you make of this, so he can offer the generic dismissals that he's been offering for the last week.
No, that's exactly right. And when he's been asked specific questions and he's answered them in tellingly evasive ways. I mean, so the first New York Post report was about a Burisma official thanking Hunter for introducing him to Joe when Joe was vice president. And the answer on that was clearly a dodge. When the Biden campaign was asked, they said, there's nothing on our official schedule that shows a meeting happened, which is to say they probably met at something else. Biden was speaking at a very large event and spoke with a lot of the people at a Washington, D.C. hotel. So asked specific questions, you get some telling answers. But there's been a decision by most of the press corps that they have to stay away from this story. And I think it's that they spent 4 years getting yelled at for reporting on Hillary Clinton's emails and Comey's investigation, and the working of the refs by the Democratic establishment has succeeded, and the media has decided they can't stand getting beat up by their friends, so they're going to stay away from the Hunter Biden story.
But even after that riveting interview last night with Tucker Carlson, you think the mainstream media is still going to stay away from this?
Yeah, and I think saying, oh, well, if it's just Tucker, if it's just the New York Post, if it's just Peter Schweitzer who are doing this reporting, then we have to stay away from it because it's got dirt on it. Now, there are some really good reporters out there who don't play by those rules, but still, you've got 95% of the media sitting on the sideline in the week before the election because they've decided that they can't afford to do actual reporting.
Andrew Michta, who is a academic, dean of the College of International and Security Studies at George Marshall European Center for Security Studies in Germany, writes in the Wall Street Journal, the American experiment is on life support, and he talks about a little bit of what we're seeing in part in Philadelphia the last 2 nights. The violence in all its forms suggests that tribalism based on group identity is poised to succeed the larger national community that for more than 2 centuries has protected and expanded freedom around the world. The American nation state is a unique experiment, unparalleled in history, and it is in perilous straits at the moment that one would argue, based on who the coalition partners are for the respective sides, will be in even a more precarious place if Joe Biden wins on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you mentioned my book title earlier, Dan, Alienated America. My view on the American dream is not, I don't put the big emphasis on sort of the national unity because I think that is something that followed from community strength. Think about it. Where do you do your 4th of July? Generally, it's your local neighborhood. Memorial Day, when we were kids, it was a local parade. In a lot of places here, you go to your Heroes Hill where, the people from your town who went off to war and died, they were carried back and they were buried there. American patriotism and national unity has always manifested itself in groups and on local levels. So I think we can't assume that group identity is or smaller allegiances is at odds with national unity.
No,
the difference is
that's not the argument,
about
though.
Attacking. Yeah,
that's not the argument, though. That's not. I just want to say that the argument is not. First of all, unity is not a natural occurring. Unity is not the norm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but so the problem isn't. I hate it when people say tribalism is a problem. We need to have tribes, right?
Yes.
The problem is that that this current group identity isn't grounded in sort of natural, like organically arising localities or religion or traditions or anything like that. It's grounded in ideology, and it's an ideology dedicated to tearing down the ideas behind our nation, and dedicated to tearing down the nuclear family and that sort of thing.
Right.
So it really is a real threat, but not because it's small groups. I know that.
No.
I want to clarify.
Yeah. I don't think MICTA. I don't think MICTA is concerned about the little platoons of democracy that Burke wrote about either. I think he's concerned about those groups that are prevailing in terms of positions of authority in the cultural institutions that do not believe in peaceful pluralism, which is where you're getting to, and which is why I go back to say, if peaceful pluralism loses on Tuesday, which I think the loss represents a Biden victory, then give us an assessment of where you think we go from here, since you've written so much about alienated America, as per your book title.
Peaceful pluralism is a perfect word. Sort of, are people allowed to get together and do their own things or no? What do you think is going to happen to you saw what they tried to do with Amy Coney Barrett and say, oh, she was on the board of a Christian school. And that Christian school would hire a gay teacher, but would say, no, our code of conduct doesn't allow you to get married to another dude while you're our teacher. That sort of thing won't be allowed. You won't be allowed. Catholic hospitals don't abort babies, and the ACLU is suing them to say you have to do it. This is not Catholic hospitals trying to outlaw abortion. They're saying we're going to have our own institution, and it's going to do things differently than what other institutions do, and we're going to have our own little spheres of liberty, of society, of community, and we're going to follow our own rules. That's not allowed anymore. You see Twitter is increasingly saying, no, there's one set of rules for everybody. It's going to be top down. We're going to enforce it. Gone is the day of, okay, don't follow somebody if you don't like what they're tweeting. Gone is the day of, okay, you know what? Separation of church and state means church doesn't mess with state and state doesn't mess with church. Now it's going to be church is going to follow the marching orders of the state. That the animosity towards pluralism means you guys won't be able to do stuff together in the way that you want. Everybody's got to play by the same exact script.
Well, exactly. My argument is essentially we're going to go from physical lockdowns today to metaphysical lockdowns in under a Biden presidency.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I don't think it's because Biden has a passion for it. I think Kamala Harris has a passion for it. We know that she goes after crisis pregnancy centers. We know that she went after pro-life filmmakers. She's a prosecutor, and she's going to prosecute a culture war. And it's the culture war. Some people on the left still think it's about the right trying to impose their values on everybody else. No, it's the right trying to impose their values on themselves and not being allowed to. And it's because the Democratic Party that Biden is the titular head of has a passion for that culture war more than anything else. Kamala does. Biden's administration will. We know that a Democratic-run Congress will.
That's a great line. The right is trying to impose their values on themselves. They're trying to live their values. Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, author of Alienated America, Why Some Places Thrive While Others Collapse. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Across Kane, Kendall, DuPage, and Cook counties, undecided women are talking about who they want to elect state senator in District 25.
Jeanette Ward is independent. Jeanette has stood up to both parties.
Karina Villa is a puppet in the Mike Madigan Puppet Show.
Jeanette Ward will oppose state and local property tax increases.
Karina Villa is co-sponsoring the graduated tax referendum.
As a school board member, Jeanette Ward proved her commitment to our children.
Karina Villa voted to cut $9 million